All right. Happy birthday to you, Miss Miki Kersgard. The mic is all yours.
Thank you, Lynn. Oh boy, yeah, another turn around the sun. What the heck? Who knows? It's all the same and it's all different. Thank you for Thankful Thursday. Thank you to everyone who was on this morning, Dove and Sharon and Lori and Zulma. Great morning. Happy spring. Happy everything. I'm gonna settle in for a second and ask Holy Spirit to be in charge of this because I certainly don't need to be. This holy instant would I give to you. Be you in charge. For I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace. And I am here only to be as helpful as I possibly can truly be. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and amen. So, this week in our early morning hours, Prudence has been playing a lecture by Ken Wapnick called Cast No One Out, making it about them. And I've really been enjoying this lecture because it talks a lot about how self-centered and self-absorbed ego tries to make us be. It's always got to be about us, and we can conquer that by making it about them. You know, when we're only thinking of our own needs, that's when we become so self-interested and self-absorbed that we become depressed or we become anxious or worried or fearful or whatever is bringing out that specialness in us, and all that does is it fixates us in egoville, in ego land. It becomes a vicious circle, you know, we of wants and needs and desires and unfulfillment, and it it just, the more it's like we start spinning around and become like this drill bit that just cements itself in ego. And the only way that we can break that is to stop looking at our needs and start looking at the needs of others. And as I was listening this morning, it reminded me about something that my dear friend Marty once explained to me. And we were talking about her daughter who was having some physical and mental problems, and how she, in having to deal with that, it was overwhelming her as well. And she said, I just don't have the spoons. And, you know, we were talking a little bit more, and she said, you know, I just don't have the spoons for that. And I said, what's with the spoons? You know, tell me about these spoons you're talking about. And for anybody who hasn't heard this story, and I apologize to those of you who have, um, this all came out of a blog post by, I wrote down her name, and I also wrote down how to pronounce it. She wrote this in 2003. Her name is Christine Miserandino, I think it's pronounced. Not sure, but she was talking about her experiences with having lupus. And that's one of those invisible diseases. People can't really tell you have it because you look like a normal person. And she had to explain to her friends and family and anyone who knew her that, how she has a very limited amount of energy. And she had this beautiful analogy, and I'll tell you the way that my friend Marty told it to me. She walked over and opened up the kitchen drawer and pulled out a bunch of spoons. And she said, "So tell me about the things that you do when you wake up in the morning." And I said, "Well, I get up and I wash my face." And she had handed the spoons to me. She took away a spoon. And I brush my teeth. She took away a spoon. I make my bed. She took away a spoon. I make coffee. Took away a spoon. And as I kept going down the list, I make breakfast, or I, go get dressed. And I got to a point, and she said, "No, you can't get dressed. You don't have any spoons left. You're out of spoons. Means you're out of energy. You don't have any spoons." And I was like, wow, that's a really great way of looking at anyone who we're dealing with, and I wish it had become more of a universal phrase, because we could all just say to each other anytime somebody asks us to do anything, "I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm out of spoons." It should be something that we all can use on each other, because it's so universal. And I started thinking about that when I was talking to a friend of mine. I think it was last week, and I have a person who I'm very close with. It's part of my family, or my universal family. And my dog had died. My cat had died. I'd gotten sick. I was like, he doesn't care about me. He doesn't call to check on me. He hasn't called to, see if there's anything I need. Wah, wah, wah. You know, nothing, this isn't going right. Nobody cares about me. I went on forever about it. And then all of a sudden it occurred to me, he doesn't have the spoons. He's dealing with him, a relationship breakup, his feelings of depression, his feelings of anxiety, his feelings of being overworked. He doesn't have the spoons to check on me. And when I finally called him up and said, "Hey, do you want to come over? Let's have a cup of coffee." And I was talking about, oh, I'm getting older. 3/4 of a century sounds like a lot to me right now. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. He started crying. "I can't imagine a world with you not in it." And this is somebody that I thought couldn't give a hoot, didn't call me up to check on me. He didn't have the spoons. you know, it's, and if I had taken the time back when I was feeling all sorry for myself to make it about him, I would have realized that. And I realized when I was listening to Ken talk this morning, I was making it about me. I should have been making it about him. No matter what I was going through, no matter what I thought my needs were, I should have been making it about him. So I looked a couple of things up in the course, and I came across this one section. I'm not going to read the whole section because it's a pretty long one, but it's from the dynamics of the ego. And let's see, this is chapter 11, section 6, and I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs at the end. Paragraph 17 starts, "Would you remember the Father? Accept his Son, and you will remember him." If I accepted my dear friend and thought about him first and whether he had enough spoons or not, I would have remembered the Father. I would have been in the presence of God. Accept his Son and you will remember him. Nothing can demonstrate that his Son is unworthy, for nothing can prove that a lie is true. And so neither he nor I were unworthy. Just because he didn't have the spoons for me and I didn't have the spoons for him doesn't mean either one of us were unworthy. We were just both being very self-absorbed right then. What you see of his Son through the eyes of the ego is a demonstration that his Son does not exist. Yet where the Son is, the Father must be. Accept what God does not deny, and it will demonstrate its truth. Accept what God does not deny. You know, that's a line I usually breeze right over, but it's really important. Accept what God does not deny. What does God deny? Nothing. God doesn't deny anything. So if we accept what God does not deny, that means we accept everything. Whether or not that person has the spoons for what we think we need. We accept everything. Accept what God does not deny, and it will demonstrate its truth. The witnesses for God can stand in his light and behold what he created. The witnesses for God stand in his light and behold what he created. If we're standing in God's light and behold the light that is God, we can't see anything else. We cannot even see the ego. The witnesses for God stand in his light and behold what he created. That reminds me, I got to read you guys this great quote from Ramana Maharshi. If I can find it real quickly here. I can't put it up because I don't know how. I don't have the spoons. I don't have the spoons for that right now. But it's a great graphic because it has a picture of a movie theater, one of our favorite pictures, and it says, "In a cinema show, you can see pictures only in a very dim light or darkness." So the movie theater has to be very dark or in a very dim light. When the lights are all switched on, pictures disappear. So also in the floodlight of the Supreme Atman, all objects disappear. So that's pretty much saying the same thing. The witnesses for God stand in his light and behold what he created, and nothing else. Their silence is the sign that they have beheld God's Son, and in the presence of Christ, they need demonstrate nothing. For Christ speaks to them of himself and of his Father. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. They're tearing the street up outside, and it's making a very funny noise. Oh gosh, I'm going to read that again. Their silence, that's the witnesses for God, is the sign that they have beheld God's Son, and in the presence of Christ, they need demonstrate nothing. For Christ speaks to them of himself and of his Father. And if Christ is speaking to us, then we're speaking to Christ. They are silent because Christ speaks to them, and it is his words they speak. So if we're standing in the light and we can't see anything else but the light, and then we can't hear anything but the Christ, we can only speak of Christ. Every brother you meet becomes a witness for Christ or for the evil, depending on what you perceive in him. So cast, is it called the Ken lecture, cast no one out? Because if we're casting somebody out, we're perceiving the ego in him. Hi, Marcy. Marcy just signed on. Good to see you. Every brother you meet becomes a witness for Christ or for the ego, depending on what you perceive in him. So if I'm looking to him and I'm being needy and I need something from him and he doesn't have the spoons, then we're just one ego talking to another. And there's no room for Christ in there. Everyone convinces you of what you want to perceive and of the reality of the kingdom you have chosen for your vigilance. And that's either the kingdom of God or it's the little land of the ego. Everything you perceive is a witness to the thought system you want to be true. So if I'm looking to others for my needs to be fulfilled, that's automatically looking to them for the ecosystem, looking to the ecosystem. I'm not in the kingdom of God at that point. Every brother has the power to release you if you choose to be free. So if I'm holding on to them with my needs and my wants and my desires, I'm in a prison at that point. I've locked myself up with them because I haven't chosen to be free. If I'm not free of desires and wants and needs, I'm putting both of us in a prison. And that's what I was doing when I was looking to my friend, to my mighty companion, for my wants and needs to be fulfilled by them. You cannot accept false witness of him unless you have evoked false witnesses against him. And here's the line. Here's the line that I searched for. I'm like, I got to read that paragraph. If he speaks not of Christ to you, you spoke not of Christ to him. Let me read that again. If he speaks not of Christ to you, you spoke not of Christ to him. Was I speaking of Christ to him? When I was thinking those thoughts of he doesn't care about me, he didn't call me, he didn't check on me, he didn't see if I'm okay. Is that speaking of Christ? Heck no. That's saying nothing about Christ. Hi, Sharon. Oh, Sharon's here twice.
Well, actually, I was moving around. I'm exercising now, so I went on my
Oh,
phone.
great.
All
I'll
right.
be your workout buddy.
How about yeah, wherever you go, God goes with me, and so do you, because we're all God. There you go.
Absolutely.
Marcy's on. Marcy, hi, Mars.
If he speaks not of Christ to you, you spoke not of Christ to him. You hear but your own voice, and if Christ speaks through you, you will hear him. And then everybody's got all the spoons he needs. You know, I love that. I love that spoon business. So I thought I'd jump over, and I know I have probably read this section before, but it's the one that jumped out at me to follow up with that last section I finished up. Seek not outside yourself. Don't try and get spoons from other people. We're all dealing with our own spoons. Don't look in other people's silverware drawer. Seek not outside yourself for it, I was looking outside myself for comfort and for my needs to be met. Doesn't work. Doesn't work like that. Seek not outside yourself, for it will fail, and you will weep each time an idol falls. Heaven cannot be found where it is not, and there can be no peace excepting in heaven. There's no peace except in heaven. So there's no peace when I'm looking outside myself. Excuse me. No peace when I'm looking out. When I'm looking outside myself for others to fill some need or desire or want. That's not where heaven is. Heaven is in the mind. Heaven is wherever I'm looking, if heaven is in my mind. Each idol that you worship, and those idols are all of those things, that we think we can get from others. But all those others that I was talking about before, when we don't know what's going on with another. That's why that woman Christine wrote that essay, because we don't know what anybody else is going through and how many spoons they have left in their silverware drawer and how many they've spent getting through whatever, if they have a chronic illness or a disability or they're neurodivergent or if they have a mental illness, if they have any kind of illness. And as long as we're living in, as long as we think we're in a body and we don't know who we are, and we're wrapped up in this identity and this personality, you know, it says in the Course, all illness is mental illness. And when you have an illness, you've run out of spoons. You don't have any left to give to anyone else. So we're all, you know, running around this world out of spoons. You know, and we have all these idols that we think are going to fulfill the desires and the wants and the needs. That's not going to make us happy. We know that. You know, we were just listening to Jimmy Twyman's talk from yesterday. You know, that these wants, we have to let go of everything we ever wanted. We have to let go of the desire to even want to be this person or this personality or this identity. Those are the idols we're talking about here. We think they're outside idols. Dove wants what are the spoons for? Dove wants the spoon metaphor again. Okay, so the spoons are the amount of energy that we have to expend mentally, physically, emotionally on any given day. And some of us have 1,000 spoons in our silverware drawer, and some of us have 5. And when, you know, we can get up in the morning and make the bed and make the toast and get our clothes on, and let's see, that was 3, and brush our teeth and make the coffee. And if we've only got 5 spoons in our silverware drawer, and it has cost us 1 spoon for each of those tasks, then by the time 9 o'clock has rolled around, we're out of spoons. Did that do it for you, Dove? You know, we've only got.
Just asking also, how do you get more spoons?
How do you get more? Well, according to the Course, we have an infinite amount of spoons, but according to the ego and the body and the emotional, you know, if you've got, like we were talking about the other day, if you've got an autoimmune disease or something like that, if you've spent your 5 spoons, you're done. You have to go lie down for the rest of the day. I have a friend who has a condition like that. And when she's out of spoons, she's done for the day. The only thing that she's good for the rest of the day is laying on the sofa and maybe watching some TV. So in terms of the story that Christine, how do we say her name again? Miserandino, according to Christine's story, then you have to rest up until you get more spoons in your silverware drawer.
Okay.
You got it?
Yep. Yes.
So, you know, for some of us that's an emotional thing, for some of us it's a physical thing, for some of us it's a psychological thing. So yes, spoons are energy. So I was talking about idols before that. What was I saying? So yeah, we think idols are outside of us, but idols are our identity and our personality as well. And if we're relying on other people to prop up our identity, or we think our identity rests in anything but God, we're using up spoons all over the place. trying to prop that up, and we run out of emotional and spiritual energy. Those are our idols. Seek not outside yourself, for it will fail, and you will weep each time an idol falls, and it will take away your spoons. Heaven cannot be found where it is not, and there can be no peace excepting there in heaven. Each idol that you worship when God calls will never answer in his place. So every time we think that some idol outside of us or our personality or our identity is going to give us more energy or fill our spoon drawer, we're seeking outside ourselves and we're seeking outside of God. That doesn't work. That'll never work. There is no other answer you can substitute, and find the happiness his answer brings. Seek not outside yourself. There aren't any spoons there. Seek not outside. And it doesn't have a capital S here, but I would put a capital S there. Seek not outside your higher self, your holy self. There's nothing else there. There's nothing else propping up this identity and this personality with stuff, asking other people to validate this personality. Like I was relying on my friend to prop up this identity, this personality, by caring for me when I thought it was being needy, was seeking outside my higher S self. It's not there. For all your pain comes simply from a futile search for what you want, insisting where it must be found. I'm thinking that there's something outside of God and heaven that's going to make this personality, this identity valid. Nuh-uh. It's not. It's a house of cards. It's going to fall down. Anytime we're dependent on validating who we think we are as an ego, it's built on a house of cards. It's going to fall down. All your pain comes from a futile search for what you want, insisting where it must be found. I think it's going to be found here in a world that's a loony bin. What if it is not there? Because it's not. It's not here. Do you prefer that you be right or happy? Did I prefer that I be right, that I wasn't getting my needs met, my wants, my desires fulfilled, that somebody else was going to care enough about me to come check on me, to call me up? Did I want to be right about that? Or do I want to be happy knowing that there's nothing outside me that I need? I want to be happy. Be glad that you are told where happiness abides, and seek no longer elsewhere. You know, I'm so glad I remembered that story, because if we're looking elsewhere to other people, to other personalities, to other identities to validate us, they don't have the spoons. They don't have the mental, emotional, or physical energy to do anything for us. We cannot seek outside ourselves. Be glad that you are told where happiness abides and seek no longer elsewhere. You will fail. There you go, Dove, one of your 3-word sentences. You will fail. It's not outside ourselves. It's not even, this is outside myself. This is not me. Miki doesn't exist. There is no identity outside of the self that I am in God. The self that I am as the oneness. There's no separate self. So I cannot seek outside of that one unified, non-separated self. There's nothing else. You know, like Zulma was saying, oop, I got to plug in. My computer's going to die. There we go. Okay, we're back. Zulma was saying earlier, there is no spot that God is not. I love her. I love the way she can rhyme everything. There is nothing outside that. So how can we look outside for any kind of validation? We can't. You will fail. But it is given you to know the truth. And do not seek for it outside yourself, the self that you really are. We cannot get confused. When we read ourself, when we read the word yourself in this book, don't ever confuse it with this identity, with a personality, with a body, with anything that is not completely one. We get confused a lot. Keith Kavanaugh likes to use the word solipsism. It's why? Why? Why do you have to use a word that nobody knows the definition of? It means that you think you are the center of the universe and everything that's happening is there. It's when we read the Course and we think that you or the yourself that it's talking about is this personality, is this identity, is this body. It's not talking about that. It's talking about the oneness. No one who comes here but must still have hope, some lingering illusion or some dream that there is something outside himself that will bring happiness and peace to him. It won't. Nobody else has the spoons. You know, yes, we can go out there and we can volunteer all over the place. There are people who think they're giving of themselves every day by giving to other people. We're filling our spoon drawer, and half the time it's with plastic spoons. It's not even with real ones. It's giving to get. Because we think we're going to be fulfilled. We think the personality, the identity is going to be fulfilled by doing good works for others. It's just propping up the personality. I'm not saying don't do good stuff for other bodies. Absolutely. And that's how some people get more spoons. Yes, it's true. But it's still mired in that corkscrew that's going into the cement of the ego. Doug wrote in the chat, ego says, I fooled God. I used chopsticks. He's not using spoons. He's using chopsticks. You're a hoot, Doug. No one who comes here, no matter how many good works we do, no one who comes here but must still have hope, some lingering illusion or some dream that there is something outside himself that will bring happiness and peace to him. Otherwise, we wouldn't come here. We would know that we were one in God and we would just stay there. I hope I'm not sounding like discouraging. But there's no encouragement in the ego. I'm sorry. If everything is in him, this cannot be so. There is no happiness and peace in the world. And therefore, by his coming, he denies the truth about himself and seeks for something more. And my phone is blowing up. Should I? That's Holy Spirit saying, yes, you're right. You're right. This course is right. Everything you're reading is right. It's hysterical. This is one of the concepts, and I keep saying this is the ego's battle cry. I want more than everything. I want more than everything. How can you want more than God and heaven? But here it is. And therefore, by his coming, he denies the truth about himself and seeks for something more than everything, as if a part of it were separated off and found where all the rest of it is not. As if a part of it, I keep harping on this, but I gotta say it, as if this personality and this identity and these wants and desires, as if a part of it were separated off into this and found where all the rest of it is not. How can we believe in this separateness when we're... Oh, Dev, can you mute? Oh, it stopped anyway. This is the purpose he bestows upon the body, the personality, the identity. You know, we just think the body isn't real, but I am this individuated expression. I used to want to be that. I'm just a facet of the, I'm not even a facet. There are no facets anymore for me. I'm either this body and this identity and this personality, or I'm nothing. It's one or the other. As if a part of it were separated off and found where all the rest of it is not. This is the purpose he bestows upon the body, that it seek for what he lacks and give him what would make himself complete. There's no completion in a separated self. We love those romantic movies. You complete me. No, there's nothing about this personality that can be complete, even with 10 other personalities. It's when we let go, what Jimmy Twyman was talking about in the video we watched just before that. If you want to know what it was his video from April 30th, 2025, the dissolution of the personality. You know, it's got to go. The entire thing has to go. As if we think it can be made complete by anything or anyone else. It cannot. This is the purpose he bestows upon the body, that it seek for what he lacks and give him what would make himself complete. There is no other completion than to be at home as one in God. You can't do it anywhere else. And thus he wanders aimlessly about in search of something that he cannot find, believing that he is what he is not. Believing I am a person with a body and a personality and an identity. If I think I'm that, I'm going to wander aimlessly about in search of something that I cannot find, believing that I'm something that I'm not. The lingering illusion would impel him to seek out 1,000 idols and seek beyond them for 1,000 more. That's how many spoons we need to keep this illusion going. We keep spending spoons of energy and emotion and wants and desires and needs. And we keep handing spoons back and forth to each other that are not going to fulfill this illusion. We're going to seek out 1,000 idols and seek beyond them 1,000 more. And each will fail him, all excepting one. For he will die and does not understand the idol that he seeks is but his death. Yeah, we think, oh, let me let go of this body. That was a big one for me. That was a huge one. Oh, when I die, I'm going to go to heaven and I'm going to know. No, not if I still think I am separate. I'm not going anywhere but back into another illusion. Its form appears to be outside himself. Yet does he seek to kill God's Son within and prove that he is victor over him. I'm still working with the personality. I'm still being an identity. This is the purpose every idol has. For this, the role that is assigned to it, and this, the role that cannot be fulfilled. No more spoons left. Spoon drawer is empty. There lie all our idols. All the things we think we're going to get from anybody else in a body with a personality. with their wants and their desires and their needs. We keep seeking outside ourselves, and it's not there. It is only in our true one holy self. There's nothing else here. Whenever you attempt to reach a goal in which the body's betterment is cast as major beneficiary, you try to bring about your death. And not the ego's death, not the good death. Not the dissolution of the identity and the personality that we really, really want. We're looking to bring about the death of the body because we think that's where our pain and suffering lie. But the pain and the suffering are in the mind. For you believe that you can suffer lack, and lack is death. To sacrifice is to give up, and thus to be without and to have suffered loss. And by this giving up is life renounced. Seek not outside yourself. It's another one of Dove's favorite word counts. That one's 4, not 3. Still really good though. Seek not outside yourself. The search implies you are not whole within. The search implies that we do not know we are whole in our mind, singular. In our singular mind, the one that is only one. The search implies you are not whole within and fear to look upon your devastation, but prefer to seek outside yourself for what you are. And I see it's 12:30, but Wayne isn't here, so I'm going to go on for one more paragraph, Lynn. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Idols must fall. Idols, all the things we think we are. All those spoon-wanting things. All those things that we think are going to take anything from anybody else and fulfill ourselves with it. Idols must fall because they have no life, and what is lifeless is a sign of death. You came to die, and what would you expect but to perceive the signs of death you seek? I'm going to get back to that in a minute. No sadness and no suffering proclaim a message other than an idol found that represents a parody of life, which in its lifelessness is really death, conceived as real and given living form. Yet each must fail, and crumble and decay, because a form of death cannot be life, and what is sacrificed cannot be whole. We came to die. Yes, if we think we're in a body, we came here to experience all this stuff in order to die, because we think there's a life here, and there's not. So we're born, we think we're going to have a life here, and then the body dies, and we're only here. I love how Karen puts it. It's either a classroom or a prison. If we think we came here to die, it's a prison. If we think we came here to live eternally in God, and be part of that one, then it's a classroom. Then we get to live a life. Then we get to see what the ego is doing and challenge it. And Lynn put in the chat, life is a game. We're here to play. Yepers. So it's either, oh, somebody added something to that. Where was it? It's either a classroom, a prison, or a playground. I love that one. You know, and if we're relying on other personalities, then we're just, then it becomes a prison. That's when it becomes a prison, when we think that we're going to get anything from anybody else. Let me read on, because I'll get mired in that whole death thing. All idols of this world were made to keep the truth within from being known to you, and to maintain allegiance to the dream that you must find what is outside yourself to be complete and happy. That we think we're going to get those spoons from other people. The only thing, and Dove asked that great question before, you know, like, how do we get more spoons? We get them from God. We get them from the oneness of everything. That if we're spending spoons in all the energy that we have, that we think we're getting from other people, that they are making us complete and happy, then we're going to run out. It's in our knowing God, in our knowing that we are not separate. That's where all the spoons are. That's where the spoon factory is. You know? There's an unlimited supply, but not if we think we're going to get them from other people that are going to make us complete and happy. It is vain to worship idols in the hope of peace. God dwells within, and your completion lies in him. No idol takes his place. Here you go, Dove. Here's a bunch of really short sentences here. I'm going to end on this. No idol takes his place. Look not to idols. Do not seek outside yourself. And with that, I'm going to end. Thank you all so much. I love you all. It's been a great morning.
Thank you,
Good day.
Miki.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you, my friend. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for hanging out with us as much as you have and as much as you do. Because yes, you are a treasure to us, or to me for sure. So,
Aw, thank you, Lynn. And look, perfect timing. Here's Rev Wayne.